This is your Kick-Ass Life podcast, episode number 191.
This is the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast with Andrea Owen, a no BS guide to self-help and badassery. Because ladies, let's face it, life's too short for it to not kick ass. And here's your host, the girl who serves it up straight with a side of crazy, Andrea Owen.
Ass Kickers, welcome to another episode of the podcast. You probably know why I'm excited today, right? I'm excited this week because yesterday, January 2nd, was the birthday of my new book. Maybe you got a chance to stop into a Barnes & Noble and saw it over there on the front tables. This is so exciting. It's officially in bookstores today. If you ordered it online, by now you should have your copy. Hopefully you're digging in and enjoying it, and it's finally here. It's finally here. I am really restraining myself not to scream and yell in your ear. I will absolutely not do that. But I am excited to tell you about something that I'm doing, and I would love your help with this. I would love for you to help me help an organization that is very near and dear to my heart. This whole week, from January 2nd to January 9th, 2018, in case you're listening way in the future, I am going to give $10 for every Amazon review that is left about this book. And they don't need to be 5-star reviews, although that would be very nice. I just am looking for honest reviews over there on Amazon. So if you have read the book, or if you have even read most of the book and feel comfortable leaving a review over there, I would be so very, very grateful. I am giving $10 for every review to Best Buddies International, which is I will just read from their website real quick so I can tell you about them. Best Buddies is an organization dedicated to establishing a global volunteer movement that creates opportunities for one-to-one friendships, integrated employment, and leadership development for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I know they also are on a mission to end the stigma for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's been an organization that has been so close to my heart. I volunteered for them with them in my 20s. I think it was in my early 20s. It was my first real volunteer thing that I did. I went on to also volunteer with the Special Olympics, another great organization. But this has always been a topic that's been close to me since I was a child. And then when I grew up, I had a child with autism, and it became even more important to me. So I would love for you to help me help them. Again, $10 for every Amazon review from January 2nd to January 9th. I would be so very grateful for your help with that. We've made it super easy for you. We've dropped a link in the show notes with a few directions in case you've never left a review on there. So it'll be super easy for you. Also, I'm in New York City this week, and on the 6th, Saturday, I'll be in Brooklyn at Powerhouse Arena Bookstore. I'd love to see you there and get to hug you and sign your book. If you go to the show notes, it's at yourkickasslife.com/191. You can grab all the links to everything you hear in this episode. So yes, this weekend I will be in New York, and next weekend, the following weekend, I should say, I'm going to be in Chicago. Then I'm running over to San Diego. Not running, I'm actually flying in an airplane. That would be a really long run. Going to San Diego, then Portland, Oregon, then back home to Greensboro, North Carolina. And I will also be just outside of DC in Vienna, Virginia, and that is my last stop. And we start the free book club on January 22nd. Have you signed up for this free class that I'm teaching? You haven't? Well, you can do so. All you need to do is purchase a copy of the book, hard copy or audiobook or e-reader, however you want to read it is fine. And the link is going to be in the show notes to sign up for that free class. It's 4 weeks long. I am guiding you through every chapter of the book. We're going to have discussions, Q&A, celebrations, cheering each other on, because the last thing I want for you guys to do is buy this book and not read it. Or read it really fast and be like, that sounds nice. I would love for you to at least make one shift in your life. Sometimes self-help can be a little overwhelming. I completely understand that. It gets a little overwhelming for me sometimes. And even just one change, pick one chapter that really speaks to you. You don't have to read the book in order. You can just grab a chapter that really resonates and stands out to you, read that one, and make a change in your life. So this episode today that you are about to hear is a blog post I wrote several years ago when I was writing a lot about courage. And really, this was sort of the birth of the topic around the book. And I was talking a lot about these behaviors that we do when we're trying to kind of fake it till we make it, or trying to just cope with life, right? And I also think that confidence is one of those topics that can be a little bit confusing. You know, we have like an idea of what it is, but what does it really look like on a regular basis? And that's what this is also about. And so before I give too much away, I'm going to go ahead and just jump in, and I hope you enjoy it. Confidence. It's one of those topics that gets talked a lot about in personal development. One of those things that we all maybe would like a little more of, or maybe you want a lot more of that. If confidence were easy, it would have been bottled a long time ago by Big Pharma, and somebody would have more money than God right now. However, gaining confidence can be sometimes not that easy. Years and years ago, when I saw a woman with confidence, I thought a few things that turned out to not be true. I created my own myths, if you will, around confidence. So the first myth I had was I thought that these women were born with it. I thought confidence was in their genes. I thought it was just part of their personality. And clearly, I wasn't someone that was born with it. And I assumed that I could never have it because it was like having brown eyes or something like that. It was just something that I didn't have. The second myth was that I thought maybe I could fake it by acting like I was the shit when I really did not think I was the shit at all. And all this did was make me feel like shit and feel like a giant phony. The third myth I had around confidence was that I thought I could just wait until I was older to finally get it, because we all know how much confidence Blanche Deveraux on the Golden Girls had. However, I did not want to wait until I was a golden girl. Confidence is not something you're born with, or something you get just by faking it, or something you automatically gain when you turn 45. It's something that's built piece by piece over time. It's something you try, you mess up, you try again and again until you see progress, and then keep practicing for the rest of your life. What I know to be true is that the way to gain confidence is by practicing courage, and that's what I'm going to get into. Courage can look like many different things. Acts of courage don't have to be big, sweeping events that shake you to your core with fear. I think that we make up that, or we see it like on the media, these women that do these really brave, courageous things. And we think that that is what we need to do in order to be courageous and in order to have confidence. But even practicing small acts of courage will likely evoke fear in you, but all of them add up to a courageous, confident you. So I've broken it down because I know how much y'all love steps. I've broken it down into some steps. The first one, step one, is that you decide. And I don't mean you just decide you're confident. You can certainly do that, but I think your brain will spike the bullshit alert, and the whole fake it till you make it thing is tough with this one. When I say decide, I mean decide you will start practicing courage. Decide you're ready to step out of your comfortable ways of being and try something else little by little. Step two is really dig into what practicing courage means to you. Start by thinking of the behaviors you currently do that are making you unhappy. I'll bet some of them are isolating, people-pleasing, perfecting, believing in your inner critic, numbing out, comparison, approval-seeking, control. I might have just named your to-do list. And I'm going to stop for a second because, like I mentioned in the intro, this was originally a blog post that I wrote a couple of years ago, I think in 2015. And this was the birth. This was the, the very first cell organism, if you will, of my book, How to Stop Feeling Like Shit. I was really starting to, I'd been paying attention for a while at what was a big struggle for my clients and the women in my community. And I was noticing these habits over and over again. So I find it really interesting and fun that I have this blog post where I started to write about it. And all that comes back to courage, because anytime you are participating in those habits that I just mentioned, the ones I write about in the book, isolating, people pleasing, perfecting, etc., that is our human way of being afraid and letting our fear take over. And also we do these behaviors because we think that they're protecting us. And what's actually happening is that they're not courageous at all. They're actually just a defense mechanism. They are not in alignment with our values, and they make us feel like shit. So back to step 2, really dig into what practicing courage means to you. If you read my book and do the questions at the end of each chapter, if you participate in the book club that's going to start here in a couple of weeks, where you actually get the PDF worksheets, which can be really helpful, this is a way to do this. Also, knowing what your values are, it's the last chapter of my book, that will tell you exactly what courage looks like to you so that you can have more confidence. So if you think about the behaviors that you do, or write them out, that's a great way to start. Think of the opposite. If you're an isolator, if you're someone who hides out when things get tough or when you're in struggle, practicing courage would be reaching out for help and support to the right people. The opposite of people pleasing would be to simply stop before you immediately say yes to everything and practice saying no. If you're a perfectionist, practicing courage would be to lean into what is good enough or start before you're ready. I know that's scary. I think you get the gist there. And step 3 is simply keep repeating steps 1 and 2 over and over again. This will be scary, I can assure you. But what's even scarier is looking back on your life and realizing you've stayed in a place of fear. What's scarier is realizing you allowed fear to drive your entire life. What's possibly scarier than that is that you'll look back and realize you modeled fear for the people you love. I'll tell you something I know for sure. I am immensely proud of myself that I can practice courage in my life. But what makes me even more immensely proud is that I can model courage for my children. Miriam Wright Edelman said, "You can't be what you can't see." If you're a parent, I know you want your children to grow up learning how to practice courage. And if they see that in you, they'll know how. And kind of circling back to the topic of confidence, I think that confidence isn't built by kicking ass all the time or being right all the time or winning all the time. Confidence is built by honoring your values, living your life from a place of knowing what's important to you and acting on it. That's how confidence is built. Confident women that I know are people who have those hard conversations at work or with their partners. I recorded a podcast episode just a few short weeks ago about having hard conversations and how to do that. Also wrote a ton about it in my book. Confidence comes from knowing exactly what you want out of a conversation or a certain situation, and it doesn't always mean that it goes your way. It comes from being clear on what success looks like to you, whether it's a talk that you have to have or making a decision, letting go of something. That's where confidence comes from. It's also a matter of trusting yourself. I've talked about this on the podcast over the last several months, how self-trust is something personally that's come up for me a lot in my own personal development journey. For a long time, I did not trust myself. I think for me, that comes from a lifetime of codependence, of wanting to control everything, but at the same time, relying on other people to make me happy. If you're one of those people who is really invested in what other people think of you, really invested in how other people treat you. You take things personally. You probably struggle around the topic of self-trust, trusting yourself to feel your feelings and be okay on the other side, trusting yourself to make the quote unquote right decision. And I use quotes because we don't always know it's the right decision. And even if it turns out it wasn't the right decision, we always end up learning something from it. But many times we don't trust ourselves enough or at all. Confidence and self-trust are so intermingled, and we get both of those by stepping into courage. And if you read the values chapter on my book, which I pray that you do, I talk about courage because it really is so important in terms of your values, because it takes courage to honor really any of your values. I know many of you listening probably have a value around honesty and integrity. You have to have courage in order to honor the value of honesty and integrity. Because if you're a people pleaser, you're not honoring the value of honesty. You're not. You're lying about things that you're saying yes to things that you don't want to do. You'd rather lie about that than actually tell the truth and possibly hurt someone's feelings or get them mad at you or whatever bullshit story we make up about it. If you have a value around authenticity, you have to have courage in order to stand up for what you believe in and be your authentic self around someone new who you think might not like that part of you. If you have a value around adventure, well, that can take a lot of courage. And I'm going to beat a dead horse here. We build confidence by doing courageous acts. Small acts add up to a big outcome because 60% of the time, it works every time. Just kidding. It's a quote from one of my favorite movies, Anchorman. But I feel very strongly about courage and confidence and also self-trust and all of the topics that I've talked about today and that I talk about on the podcast in general. I have a lot of opinions, don't I? Thank you so much for showing up today and every week on the podcast, and Happy New Year again. I am always so grateful that you're here and that you spend time with me. And I'm so incredibly grateful to all of you who have ordered my book before this week, those pre-order numbers, and actually numbers for this whole week, this very first week of January is so important to me and to, I hate to sound dramatic, but my future as an author. Because it's true. If you haven't yet bought your copy of the book, I would be so honored if you did. You can find it on Amazon or the front tables of most Barnes & Noble, I think right now, if not all of them. Or you can go over to yourkickasslife.com/HTSFLS and find it there. Thanks again, everybody. And until next time, I will see you out in cyberspace. Bye-bye. Hey, ass kickers, if you're still listening, you're probably doing something with your hands right now, so you can't get to the phone to push stop. I know, because I listen to podcasts too. But I'm going to take this opportunity to just remind you about the charity giveaway that I am doing. From January 2nd until January 9th, 2018, I am giving $10 for every honest Amazon review about my new book, How to Stop Feeling Like Shit. So if you have a copy of it, whether you're listening to it on audio or e-reader or a regular old-fashioned hard copy, and you have read the book, and I would love for you to give an honest review over there on Amazon so I can give $10 to Best Buddies International, a charity that is very close to my heart. So thank you very much, and I'll let you get back to whatever you were doing.